Hits it deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
Mike George looking up. See ya! 3,000. History with an exclamation point.
And the New York Giants, given last rites by many in December, are the Super Bowl champs in February.
Welcome to the podcast that's being listened to coast to coast and in 3 other continents. This is the penultimate episode of season 1, episode 9. 2 dudes, 2 drinks. How is everybody doing today? Steven, how are you?
I am great. Thank you for asking.
And what do you got to drink? That's the name of the show.
Drinking my little vodka and seltzer. I got absolute watermelon with a splash of seltzer, lime flavored. Beautiful.
And update guy, producer, and editor Paul, how are you?
I'm good.
What do you have to drink today?
I'm drinking my Jack Daniels, but I do have a new Yeti with the Yankee symbol on it. Repping the Yankees today.
Yes, always. We don't give up. But real quick, before we go into the episode, I wanted to say the last week and a half before we did the last episode, I've considered renaming the show to One Dude and One Mush. If you remember the last episode, it was after game 2 of the Knicks Hawks series. And I'm a little disappointed. Steve was like not really into the Knicks all year. He was watching them, but he wasn't really, he kept saying they're not making the playoffs. Oh, they're not doing anything. Then they win that game and he's on the bandwagon as always, typical New York fan. We love our New York fans, but some of them, you know, they jump ship when they need to. And Steve, do you like your term, the mush that we call you now?
Well, speaking of mushes, do I need to go back on my text to see what you said about the Yankees Red Sox series?
No, because that's not true. I was talking about the current series that they were playing the Astros.
I mean, don't let me fact check you. I already did, you know, so don't let me. I went back on my text this afternoon because I knew that you were going to call me out on this, but you 100% put the mush on the Yankees. You said that they were going to sweep the Red Sox.
No, I didn't use the word Red Sox. Yankees said the Red Sox about to get swept because they were up.
God.
But whatever.
That's true.
Are you defending yourself, Mark, by using like semantics? Like you didn't say.
No, I said the Red Sox were going to get swept because they were down 3-0 to the Astros in that.
I'm going to go back. Listen to all the followers. I'm going to go back on my phone after the podcast. I'm going to make a screenshot and I'm going to put it on Twitter. All right.
Well, either way, do you know how to get onto Twitter?
I figured it out.
Okay.
I'll put on everything else. I know to get on YouTube. I know to get on Spotify. I know to get on all that stuff.
Oh, yes. And thanks for reminding me. Speaking of where we're located, go find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the legendary Buzzsprout website that we love so much. And we'll be back on YouTube this week, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Awesome. See us anywhere. Subscribe, like. We always like feedbacks. We always like comments. Oh, we have an Instagram and Twitter page, too. Follow those and comment on things. Good episode today. We're going to do an update. And then we're going to get, Steve is one thing I've known about Steve in the 6-7 years I've known him, he's a very nostalgic guy. And this episode today is going to get a bit nostalgic when we do a top 5 video games
of all time
for our own liking and own personal reasoning.
Yeah.
Obviously, we picked games that are popular amongst, we probably feel, our followers and fans.
Oh, sure.
So it's a very nostalgic episode in the second to last episode of the season.
Yeah.
So, Paul, let's jump into the update right now.
Okay, yeah. So let's do this. So we'll start off with the Knicks and just get it out of the way. After I don't mean that in a mean way, but after a very exciting episode over about a week ago, we were really amped up and we named it. The episode was called "Return of the Mecca." New York sports is back. How things so quickly changed within a day. We expressed how happy and confident we were about the Knicks. And that pretty much got deflated like a balloon after they were pretty non-competitive.
They choked. Let's be honest. They didn't show up in
Atlanta. I'll ask your thoughts after. They lost both games in Atlanta. Just so our listeners, we can recap what happened. They lost both games in Atlanta. They didn't look great in either game, to be honest. They weren't even close. And then they lost at the Garden in Game 5, 103-89. Even though they fizzled out in the playoffs. I will say Knicks fans afterwards do seem pretty hopeful for the future, and this was further solidified with Tom Thibodeau just yesterday winning Coach of the Year. after the Knicks' first playoff berth for the first time since 2013. He's won Coach of the Year before also with the Bulls. I think it was around the same year, actually, the Knicks made the playoffs. I think it was around 2013 or something like that. The Knicks finish off the regular season with a 41-31 record. And I just want to mention that. So even though they lost in the playoffs, we should end off with some positivity, especially since the beginning of the season, Vegas odds only had them at about like 20, 21 wins. And that's what most experts were predicting. They're going to be better. They're going to have 20, 25 wins. That seemed like an improvement. And instead they end up with 41 wins. So I'll go with Mark first. What are your thoughts on this?
Steve used the word choked. I disagree. Because then you're taking away from the Atlanta Hawks, who just absolutely killed it. I mean, they're a great team, and they already beat Philly 1-0. So the Hawks are better than we realized. What?
If the Nets lose, it's choking.
Yeah, that's a choke. I don't think the Knicks choked, Steve. And that's also to be nice to – hold on, let me finish. That's to nice to the – respectful to what the Hawks did. Now, Julius Randle should have played better, yes, but yeah, I don't know. They got outplayed. The Hawks are much better than everyone realized. I mean, they were a 5th seed. Nate McMillan did a great job coaching that team, taking over because they were under 500 at one point, looking like they weren't going to make the playoffs. So, and Trae Young is now the new Reggie Miller. He is a villain. I mean, I got to respect him. I hated him in the moment, but when he did that bow in Game 5, and when he put that big 3 and he went to center court and bowed, I mean, that's my dream. Is if I was an athlete, I would love to do something like that at a big sellout stadium like that. But I'm not a professional athlete, so. Steve, let's get Steve done in the series, then I have a little NBA comment to make.
I want to talk about the Nets too.
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about the Nets too. So yeah, Steve, talk about the Knicks, then we'll jump into the Nets.
I mean, the Hawks were, the Hawks are a better team, but the Knicks were not that far behind. I thought the Knicks had the mojo to at least make it competitive. I don't really mean choke. I mean, I thought more just didn't show up.
Yeah, that's true.
At no point during the series did I think the Knicks had a chance. It just was not competitive really at all. Like Trae Young made them look silly. He made them silly. As far as Trae Young, I'm not really sold on him yet. He had a good series. I'm not sold on him as the new Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller's a Hall of Famer. I'm not sure that he's going to be that guy yet. But he's definitely a good young player. I don't know if he's like the new face of the NBA yet, like everyone's trying to crown him. But
Trae Young?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
He's definitely good. He's definitely good. But I don't know if he's like that guy yet. I don't know. If he is, I don't know. I got no issues with him.
No pun intended. He's still very young.
He is still very young.
It's like
balding already. Jesus.
Yeah. But to me, I don't know. The whole Knicks series was just deflating. It was. Yeah. It really left me not knowing what's going to happen next year, to be honest with you, And Thibodeau did deserve the Coach of the Year because, the Knicks outperformed during the regular year 100%. Like they were the surprise story of the NBA. Yeah. They didn't show up in the playoffs. And now I really don't know their fate next year. I'm not sure.
Next year, I think they could be what they are this year, but is that really what we want? I want them to.
They need someone who can score.
They outperform this year. If they play like just regular next year, they're going to be like a run of the mill NBA team.
Yeah, and even now with the team they are, they could still be like a 6th, 7th seed or even a 5th seed. What does that get you? Nothing. You're not going to win.
They need a stud.
Yeah, they need a guy. They need a guy. They need a guy. You know what I mean? They need a star.
Because Randall was getting double teamed. That was the problem. He could
had no one to go to.
So it wasn't everyone's like a Randall stinks in the playoffs. I'm like, it's not that he stinks. The guy was getting double coverage, and so then what?
Yeah. You guys been watching Carmelo Anthony in the playoffs against the Nuggets? He's been doing pretty damn good.
I didn't know Carmelo was even still playing.
Yeah, he's been coming off the bench. Doing pretty well.
Okay, well let's move on to the Nets. The Nets, just quickly, the Nets are up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference semis with the Milwaukee Bucks. In Game 2, Durant delivered 32 points in a blowout of the Bucks, 125-86. I can't even watch the games.
Without Harden.
A team they struggled to beat during the regular season, they're now making quick work of, which just shows you the talent. And that was without Harden, who was hurt. So Durant struggled a little in the regular season if Harden wasn't playing. They were never playing together, but they had no problems yesterday. I just found this. I read this article on the Post, and I just wanted to read a part of it, if we can. If you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead. I can throw it in there.
It's from Ian O'Connor, and it's from yesterday, I think. And I just thought it was interesting because the article, I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just mention like what he talks about, how the Knicks could have been the Nets if they had made these decisions to get rid of Porzingis a year earlier, hire Tom Thibodeau a year earlier. Durant and Kyrie Irving were on their radar. Like, that was a plan. And he says in the opening paragraph, the Knicks hired – advertisements keep moving my screen. The Knicks hired Tom Thibodeau a year too late. Had they turned to the NBA's latest coach of the year before free agency started in 2019, maybe on Tibbs' record, they would have had a better shot at signing Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So then he starts saying maybe they would be the ones 2-0 in the series right now. But he said Knicks fans are actually really invested in the outcome of what happens with the Nets because it could have been them. And he says that Randall isn't Kevin Durant. You know, Barrett isn't Kyrie Irving, and they never will be. Which goes to
the two Hall of Famers,
right? But it's just saying like the Knicks could have been that. And so I just like in the last paragraph goes, so chances are Nets fans weren't the only locals watching this blowout with great interest Monday night to see how far 2/3 of their big three can take this. And like he said, Knicks fans probably peeked a few times to see what might have been, and more to the point, what should have been. So he just makes the argument the Knicks could have done this a year earlier and could have potentially been the Nets. And I just found that really interesting because it is a little frustrating. I have been peeking at what the Nets are doing, and it also sucks because
hindsight's the best site. So I mean,
but what also sucks is just like the Nets aren't captivating New York like the Knicks were for that 1 week.
Because it's the Nets. No one gives a shit about the Nets.
Yeah, Steve, you've always been on point with that. You've always said no one cares about the Nets.
No one cares about the Nets.
No, and they're struggling to fill seats.
That's not disrespect. That's not disrespectful.
No, that's been for my whole life. My whole life, no one's ever cared about.
Especially when they were in Jersey, right? Not being funny. That was even worse, I think.
No one cares about them.
Yeah, no, that's everyone thought when they came to Brooklyn it was really going to change, but no.
I mean, but if they start winning championships like 2-3 in a row, people.
Well, you're gonna have all your bandwagon jumpers, yes, but then if the Knicks start to win again, you'll have the bad people go back, and then you'll have people like us who are just gonna root for the Knicks. You know what I mean? Well, is that true? They're having trouble filling seats.
I heard that originally.
I didn't. No.
Once the Knicks start, I mean, once the Nets start winning like multiple championships, which they're completely capable of, they'll start becoming like a national team.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, because Brooklyn's like a hit place. Yeah. Brooklyn Nets, and people on like the West Coast will be wearing like Brooklyn t-shirts.
Yeah.
So, Mark, what were you going to say about the NBA?
No, it's just, I'm going to sound very pessimistic or whatever, but it's boring. I mean, look at these. Last time I made the joke that the Nets are playing the Celtics, the guy that comes in the Royal Rumble and gets thrown out in 1 minute. Mm-hmm. Everything the Nets are going to play are like that. There's so many teams. It's just not compelling. I'm sorry. I don't want to watch a team win 128 to whatever it was, 86. It's not compelling. That's not good. That's not, and this is not, I'm not speaking from a minority take. The ratings have gone down a lot TV wise for the NBA.
Ratings have gone down for all sports.
No, but NBA has tanked.
They still dominate media.
I read into this stuff. I'm a nerd for this stuff.
They still dominate.
They went from like 12, 13 million fans a game for the NBA finals to like 5 million. Their NBC. Wow, I just aged myself there. Their ABC Sunday afternoon games or Saturday night games tanked. So people aren't, and then the regular season is so uninteresting. And then if the Knicks get 3 guys, let's say they go and get, I've been hearing Ball mentioned, not from reputable sources, but hearsay, Lonzo Ball, Damian Lillard. The Knicks get those guys. Now, guess what? Their regular season is pointless. We're going to just be watching a whole team. And I'm glad we'll be able to have a good team. Don't get me wrong. But now the whole season is going to be, all right, how are they going to do when they get to the playoffs? That's all it's going to be.
Well, the NBA needs to figure something out to make the regular season more interesting.
Steve, do you remember those Sunday NBC games, the NBA when Marv Albert and
that was when there were rivalries. I mean, now
that's what I mean.
Worse, like everyone in the NBA is like friends. They're all like buddies. Like no one's like flagrant fouling each other for the most part. Like there's no real beef in the NBA anymore. Like the NBA that I grew up with, people hated each other.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that was an argument.
Grudge matches.
That's an argument a lot of people were making about the Knicks in this playoff series, that like someone like Trae Young in the 90s would have been like laid out by Oakland.
Yeah, he would have been out cold.
They would have injured him, but they would have roughed him up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Charles Oakley would have annihilated Trae Young. Anyway, that's my take. Listen, I love basketball. I love coaching it.
He's a tiny little thing, Trae Young. He's like 6 foot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, I love basketball, coaching it, playing it, with the kids, whatever, my yard here. But the NBA itself is just, I don't know. It's just not interesting. I don't hate the Nets. I don't like them. I just don't care. So
Yeah,
I'm really interested in watching them because they're just so dominant. They're like a novelty show, you know.
But couldn't you make that argument about other sports too? When you have when your team is really good, sometimes you don't pay attention to the playoffs.
I mean, like what other team in professional sports right now has that many Hall of Famers on one team?
Yeah, well, I mean, basketball, it's the ratio too. If you have 3 Hall of Famers, that's a great ratio. Right. 3 Hall of Famers in a baseball team.
There's no other team right now in sports that's 3 Hall of Famers on the team.
NBA is different because one player can make a huge difference.
And they have 3 players that could be on 3 different teams and make them playoff contenders.
One player on a baseball team can't make a big difference. Yeah. One player on a football team can't make a difference unless it's like a Hall of Fame quarterback. But that's really it. So that's the problem with the NBA.
It's almost like too much talent. Like the Nets have too much talent. It's like a waste of talent. Like they're not like half the games. Like Durant doesn't even play hard. He plays at like 50%, but he's so damn good that he still gets a lot of points. But like he doesn't even play hard.
And
Harden, you said?
Durant. Not knocking him. But he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to play hard. You know what I mean?
NBA is also ridiculous because like it does take away from the competitive nature of the league when these players like Durant lost with the Thunder after being, remember they were up 3-0 or whatever in that series? Yeah. They lose.
3-1.
Yeah, they were up 3-1. They lose. And what does he do? He leaves and goes to the Warriors.
He joined the enemy.
And that was bullshit. Like, can you imagine if Jordan
he would have never
got his ass kicked by the Pistons, all those years and said, let me go play with the Pistons now? Can you imagine that? Yeah. I mean,
it would have soiled his legacy, and that's why he was Michael Jordan.
And that is the issue with the NBA. That really is the problem. These guys, and I hate it when people knock these players. Like, well, I'm like, okay, whatever. But like, it is ridiculous. It's I don't know. It's not.
I don't have a problem with it. If they're allowed to do it, then let them do it.
But then you see,
if the NBA hates it so much, you know what? Make a rule where you can't do it. No,
they don't hate it, but
we hate it. The fans hate it, and guess what? They don't give a shit about the fans.
But not if you're a fan of one of those teams. Nets fans.
If you're a Warrior fan, you weren't complaining.
Warriors fans weren't bitching. Nets fans aren't bitching. So I don't know if that's true.
I feel like everyone complains that the regular season is boring as hell. That's like a universal complaint for the NBA.
We're beating a dead horse. Let's move on.
All right, Paul. Let's go on to baseball.
Yeah, let's do baseball. So we'll start off with the New York Mets. After splitting a 4-game series with the Padres, the Mets are currently 29-23. We're recording on a Tuesday, June 8th, just so we know. So you can correct me if this gets published in a day or two. The Mets are currently 29-23 and are the only team in their division above 500. Marcus Stroman has pitched on Sunday 6.2 innings and struck out 7 in the Mets' 6-2 win over the Padres on Sunday, helping to turn the tide in what could have been a disastrous series on the road if they had lost those 4 games. Overall, the Mets are still pretty banged up and are still struggling to generate a lot of offense due to the amount of starters that are injured, but much of this success is credited to the incredible pitching from their top 3 starters. Jacob deGrom has continued his Hall of Fame season with a .62 ERA, lowest ever for any pitcher throughout the first 9 starts of a season. With that being said, it seems pitching is the theme of this baseball season due to the tinkering with the baseballs again by Major League Baseball. They've definitely messed with the baseballs again. Last year we had the home run problem. Now we have a complete pitching problem. Not a problem, but we are
not a problem.
I wouldn't say it's not a problem. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but some people might argue they're tinkering with a lot. And that brings us to the Yankees. Do you want me to do the Yankees, then we'll just talk both teams?
Or let's start off with the Mets.
Okay, so Steve, your thoughts on the Mets right now, their current situation, pitching, hitting, anything?
Mets right now are they're second place in least runs allowed, but they can't score runs, which makes me semi-nervous because, I mean, obviously you need to score runs, but I don't really care that much because pitching wins games. Pitching wins games. So the Mets are keeping their head above water right now. I mean, which is not even really giving them credit. What are they, 6 games above 500 right now?
Yeah.
And they don't even have all the good players back yet. They don't got Syndergaard back yet. They don't have Conforto back yet. They don't got a few players. So
the NL East is terrible. The NL East is terrible.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying what.
Yeah.
Did that scare you that they're just beating up on these not great teams?
No, because they're good. The Mets are good. They're a good team.
I'm not disagreeing. I just
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah. And
you're
as
right.
soon as they start, I make fun of the Yankees because I say the season is turning late, but like with the Mets, I say the season is young, and they still haven't really turned it into a cohesive unit yet. So I think once they do, the sky's the limit for them. I mean, once they get in the playoffs, I think all bets are off. If they come together and they got Syndergaard back and they got DeGrom, I mean, listen, if they got to win the playoff games like 1-0, 2-0, then it is what it is, 3-1.
That happens in the playoffs a lot.
3-2. You know what I mean? So
I will say
I'm happy with the Mets. I'm happy with the Mets. With where they are.
the Mets are like they're a little more more enjoyable than the Yankees to watch right now. Like I mean, not to watch. I shouldn't say that. They just seem like they have better chemistry. Like they like each other, and I don't know.
Because they're winning.
Since day one.
I'm not saying that's what makes you win, but when you're winning and that's happening, it's nice to watch a little.
I've been saying this for months now. I'm saying that the Yankees only care about their checkbooks and their stocks.
No, that's
the only thing they care about. That's facts right there. That's facts.
All right, we'll move on to the Yankees.
Well, hold on. I got a couple things to say about the Mets. You got DeGrom, Walker, Stroman. Those three should guarantee you. I'm not even worried about Syndergaard yet because he's months away. I think. 2 months away at least.
Yeah. Getting this in August.
Those three should, and if Stevie doesn't have another setback, these three are guarantee you a division title, especially with that clown show of a division right now. Well, the Braves did take 2 or 3 from the Dodgers this weekend, so I'm going to pay attention to the Braves this week, see what they do.
Braves are going to wake up.
Philly, we all have touted Joe Girardi on this show. He's not doing good down there right now. And he had a fight with Gene Segura right in the dugout one day. I don't think Bryce Harper and him are getting along from what I've heard. So I don't know. I think the NL East is a cakewalk for the Mets at this point. Now, hold on. Here's my one concern. It's not even the hitting. Steve, Paul, yell at numbers when I ask you the question. How many wins do you think they have against 500-plus teams?
The Mets?
Yeah.
How many wins?
Against teams that have as of right now, have a better record than 500.
12.
17.
They have 12 wins?
You said 17. I said 12.
They have 4 wins so far against teams above 500.
Did I say? I thought.
Versus the Padres.
They're suspect.
0-3 versus the Cubs. They split with the Cardinals 2-2. They are 0-2 versus Boston. They played Boston and they went 0-2. And they got swept in Tampa. So that's not a big concern yet. I keep saying it. I'm going to say about the Yankees. I'll say about the Mets.
Got to win those games.
Early. What happened?
You got to win the games anyways, though.
Got to win teams against 500 or better.
Yeah, listen, get a nice cozy lead in the division. Get healthy. I'm fine with that. I don't care about a weak division. That doesn't make me sad.
No, but I'm talking about the record against winning teams.
Yeah, but they're hurt right now. They're playing minor leaguers for weeks.
I remember that Tampa series.
Emergency players for weeks.
No, that Tampa series, they still had the whole roster. I remember that roster, that series. I watched it.
How long ago was that, though?
A couple weeks ago. They had Conforto at the time. They had Alonso playing. So listen, the Mets they're off to a nice start in a weak division. But when I saw that, I was like, let me see what the Mets record is against 500-plus teams. And I knew they didn't do well against Boston and Tampa, and they had lost the first 2 games to the Padres. So in that case, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, it's not a big deal yet. I'm just saying it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, let's go on to the Yankees.
Hey, the New York Yankees. The flaws of the New York Yankees lineup seem to be getting exposed by every team in Major League Baseball right now. Yankees just got swept this past weekend by the Red Sox.
That was hurt.
At times barely showing any life and struggling to manufacture runs. The mediocre Yankees are looking like a team more likely to miss the playoffs than win a championship this season. The Yankees are in 4th place, and that's not my opinion. It's coming from like the New York Post and Yahoo Sports and stuff like that. The Yankees are in 4th place in the AL East and are 6.5 games behind the Rays in 1st place. There is also some controversy brewing with Garrett Cole, which blew up a little more today after Josh Donaldson broke a code of sorts by publicly questioning whether Cole's reduction in spin rate was a result of Major League Baseball's crackdown on pitchers using sticky substances to give themselves better control of the baseball. Perhaps scaring him into pitching without that substance this past weekend where he did not have his best performance. Side note and asterisk next to that sticky substance thing. This is Major League Baseball. I read all about, and I think you guys, most of our listeners probably notice, Major League Baseball does have a little bit of a leash on what they let pitchers use, whether that's pine tar, whether that's these sticky substances. I'm not being the shill for the Yankees. I know Steve's like, oh, I'm shilling already. There's precedent for that. That's a thing that exists. So let's just make sure we know that. Cole's start this week, which it will be Wednesday, will tell us a lot about whether there is any ammunition here. So for the listeners, if this is up tomorrow on Wednesday or up after, you can come back and comment on our Instagram or Twitter about whether we're wrong about this. But there's so much more to discuss here, including what kind of moves do they make before the trade deadline? Are DJ LeMahieu's regressions just the epitome of the Yankee struggles? And is this just a flawed team, or did the changing of the baseball hurt this home run hitting team? I am going to start with Mark on your thoughts on this.
So interesting. Hitting. It's very simple. As a fan, Steve keeps going, you got to be panicked. No, I'm a fan. I can't do anything anyway. I'm not on the team.
You were panicking in a group chat the other night.
On Sunday night? No.
You had a meltdown on Sunday night.
No. I was pissed Sunday, not panicked.
Okay, that's a meltdown.
Yeah, but also I was dealing with stuff personally in the house. AC was going. It was a bad night.
Yeah, Mark was having a life meltdown.
And if I was panicking, fine. Because guess what? Monday morning I woke up and said, whatever, 162 game season. I'm a fan. I can't do much. It's funny. I'm thinking of something. People, we talk about NBA regular season being boring. People said about Major League Baseball too. It's too long of a season. If that's the case, why does people panic over every game, every week? I'm not, once again, I'm going to say it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. There's nothing I can do about it anyway. I'm not worried. And if they have a bad summer and they don't make the playoffs, so be it. What can I do?
What?
I can tell you this.
What?
They need to
bullshit.
All they need to do is start hitting. If they start hitting, it's lights out.
Fine, but take back that last statement.
And that's what Randy says, the guy who's directing the Derek Jeter documentary. He says, if the Yankees start hitting, it's curtains for everybody.
But they're not.
That's good pitching. No, they're not. But if they start, it's a big.
They're not though. They're not.
Well, if they don't start hitting, they don't start hitting. That's going to be the season, I guess. There's no. What can you do? Well, what they can do is.
Wow. This is.
That is.
I mean,
that is
what kind of backwoods ass logic is this?
You're like abdicating, like, oh, this is the season already. Like, yeah, I think
you're embarrassing. I'm embarrassing you right now.
Yeah, I am.
I mean, what I want them to do is help is on the way. Brittany and Sevy are coming back soon, but I don't. That's not the problem. They need hitting.
Not the tape that I expect.
I want to see Cashman go and get Marte. I want to see Cashman go and get maybe a Joey Gallo. Chris Davis just got released by Texas. Chris Davis can play the outfield. Give him a shot. Bring him in on a league minimum. All right, that's what he's going to get. That's what you're
talking about. Are you talking about getting players right now? What's talking about having fucking Stanton get a hit? How about that? Instead of talking about new players you're going to get, how about you get the overpaid players that you have now and get them together?
Only one overpaid player, and that's
instead of paying more money to get more players.
There's only one overpaid player.
There's only one. We said this the other time, Steve. There's only one overpaid player, Stan. Everyone else makes barely the minimum salary.
Yes.
Why don't you have the raise salary? Why don't you try to deal with the raise salary and see how good you are? Guys are overpaid corporate bullshit.
They're not overpaid. I can't.
No, all those guys, Judge, all of them
are making big money.
They're not making big money yet.
I'll say the payroll in general.
Because of mainly two guys, Stanton and Cole.
Whatever. Payroll in general.
That's such a bullshit argument because they're not being overpaid right now. These are guys that came up in their own system. For the ones the Yankees did, what everyone bitched about.
Yeah, they go buy everybody.
They buy their team. They didn't buy the team. Except
they just got Stanton dinging there like, oh, we're the best. We got the best player in the league.
No,
we're going to be dominant now. Shit in the bed.
My point is you can't keep making that argument. The payroll is high, you're right, but you can't. Most of those guys are not getting top dollar right now. They're going to need to get top dollar eventually, or they're going to want top dollar.
The payroll conversation's lame right now.
But now I want to argue.
What, me?
Yeah, because it's such bullshit. Okay, what? To sit there and already abdicate the season or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if I'm using the right word.
Advocate. What do you mean advocate?
Abdicate. Like when you abdicate the throne, you're just like, you're done.
Abdicate, not abdicate.
Abdicate.
Yeah, I get it.
So you're like, because like I'm pissed about it. So I'm pissed because, and you're right. They could still wake up. They could still hit. But I'm pissed because I have nothing else. Like my summers, I watch the Yankees.
Yeah.
Every night.
We're real fans.
You
I'm
know,
like,
and not, I'm not gonna stand up on my throne and say like I sit there and watch all 9 innings every night. But I'll usually watch a little TV, what's something I watch, and then I turn it on the 5th inning, or what I like to do on the weekends. I set up outside. I like to watch the Yankees. So if it's July 18th and like they're like 12 games out, season's over, Mark. I mean the season's over. So
yeah.
I'm gonna sit here and fucking watch them. I'm not. And like, what else do I got? That's why I was so upset about I was upset about the Knicks, like kind of just deflating in the playoffs, because for 1 week, I stopped thinking about the Yankees. I really did. I was watching the Knicks, and then they lost on that Monday night or Tuesday night, whatever it was, and I'm like, oh, I'll go back to Yankees, and I didn't know that the Yankees had. I knew. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten for the Yankees in that 1 week and a half. That like they went from, being pretty, playing pretty well.
Swept the White Sox.
Oh yes, they swept the White Sox.
Ever since then, they haven't played great.
Yes, and that was like the weekend, one of those weekends when the Knicks playoffs are starting, right? And so the Knicks lose, and now the Yankees. I'm like, well, this team sucks. And what am I going to do in July? Talk about football? I'm not. There's people who love football that get excited for summer camp and all this shit. That's not me. I'll pay attention. I got my fantasy league that I run. I get excited a little. I'll get when preseason.
That's Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, that's right. That's almost Labor Day. So what am I gonna do? I mean, yes, I'm gonna enjoy my summer, but without the Yankees, like they have been since 2017. They have been the go-to team. Even when the Giants suck this year, what did I text you? I'm like, well, we got the Yankees. We got the Yankees. So I'm pissed actually. Like, and it is. They're hard to watch sometimes. Even when they win, they're sometimes hard to watch because I think the baseball is killing them. I do think that, but I'm not using that as an excuse. But I think that's affecting this team. And I think Major League Baseball, I'm annoyed with Major League Baseball because now they have fucked with the baseball. I'm sorry for my language today, but they have messed with the baseball too much. There was too many home runs, and everyone's like, this is insane. So the pitchers all complained, and that happened. Pitchers were complaining publicly in press conferences that something happened here. And now they messed with the ball again. And now you have these pitching battles. And have you seen what's going on in Major League Baseball? The average runs are it's like 2 runs.
Yeah, no one's hitting. Like even the Mets aren't hitting.
Right.
So somebody brought up a good point.
Oh
before.
no.
I forget if it was a host or a caller. Yeah. I really forget.
I'm done ranting too. Sorry. That's all. Whatever.
That'll be one of the highlights of the show. Paul ranted finally.
Yeah, it was nice.
But Paul, I'm not advocating the season. I think they still have a great chance. I'm not worried.
You're not bloodthirsty, Mark.
Yeah, someone's gonna be unhappy when you listen to this.
Yeah, we have a buddy who's gonna be really mad.
So somebody brought up a good point saying that for a team that is in Yankee Stadium, that's a field built for lefties. They don't have any lefties.
Yeah, that's been brought up a lot.
They have one lefty.
That's why they should go get Joey Gallo.
That's horrible planning on their part. Like, what's up with that?
Well, it wasn't. No. Here we go again.
Supremely overrated. Overrated.
That's revisionist history because when Judge and all them were hitting home runs in 2017, 18, and 19, nobody was complaining.
You're right, because they were hitting opposite, and they were hitting opposite.
They hit the opposite field. So should the lineup be more balanced? Yes, but you see, this is the problem with these people that call the fan, and everyone's got revisionist history. And also, someone said the other day, these guys can't win. They've won. They haven't won the World Series, but they've won. They've won wild card games. They've won.
But you guys have made it where only the World Series.
No. Time out.
Yes, you don't know. No. Only if the World Series is not in the Yankees' future, then the season is a failure.
Shouldn't that be everyone's goal? Shouldn't that be everyone's goal in sports to win the championship?
That's what the Yankees have touted. Yeah, I do.
Oh, shouldn't everyone be their goal though?
For the Yankees, yes. Yes.
No, for every team in sports.
Yeah, but obviously, but
so there, boom, done.
If the Mets make the if the Mets make the second round of the playoffs and they lose, am I going to be like, oh, that was a failure? No, but Yankees fans will because that season was a failure because we did not win the World Series. And
so if you lose this season, let's say the Mets go to the NLCS and they lose, and let's go back to 2006 when they lost the NLCS and they. With a team that should have won the World Series. They lost on the Beltran strikeout. That's a successful season for the Mets?
It was a disappointing season, but it was a successful season nonetheless. Yeah,
here's why I disagree with that.
Very disappointing, but...
Me or him?
Which, kind of what Steve's saying. I understand the point, because I just made the point with the Knicks that I'm happy that they just got there. But I'll never make that mistake, at least with the Yankees again, because in 2017, Mark, when they were in the playoffs, I've been waiting to bring this up. Mark,
They lost to the Astros in Game 7, which they got
lost
cheated
to the Astros in Game 7 of the ALCS. Mark, throughout that entire series, just kept saying, I'm just so happy. Like, no one expected the Yankees to be good that year. That was the year when they were starting to rebuild and everything.
They rebuilt.
And Mark just kept saying, I'm just so happy to be here. Whatever happens. Like, he wanted to win. I'm just so happy to be here. And I'll never forget my buddy and I kept telling Mark, that's not a good mentality because you never know if you're going to get here again. But they look at all these players. They have such a bright future. I'm like, it doesn't matter because in Major League Baseball, it's so hard to get that far. The NBA, you got 1,000 teams in the playoffs. It's so hard to get there in Major League Baseball.
Did it to yourselves. Yankees fans did it to themselves.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So you saying if the Mets just made it to the playoffs, you'd be happy, and if they lost, I don't think you would be. That's not a good. I've learned that's not a good mentality.
You're happy when the Mets lost in the World Series in 2015 to the Royals?
No, I was not happy,
right.
But I wasn't
like they lost too. Speaking of mush,
I wasn't happy, obviously. Listen,
it's Yankees fans did it themselves. Okay, fine. We want them to be good. We don't want them to be crap. I've never seen a losing season.
Can someone explain what do you guys think is up with DJ LeMahieu?
He's just struggling.
Struggling.
He's not a bad hitter. Just struggling. He doubled tonight. But
he got a fat contract, and he's like, I'm gonna struggle for a little while.
No, that's not true.
I don't think he's that mentality.
No.
I don't think he has. I think he has a mentality where he wants to be the best he can. So yeah, I don't think that.
Listen, here's
I'm just asking your thoughts. Like, is there something wrong with his mechanics? No. Is there something wrong? He's just struggling.
He's struggling. He hits the ball hard. Sometimes it goes right to somebody.
All I'm saying is this. All right, Yankees 6 games back. That could, in a blink of an eye, turn to 8 games. In a double blink of an eye, turn to 10 games. In the blink of an eye,
it could also turn to 3 games. So
all of a sudden, the season's over.
And don't forget that year. What year was it when the Mets before the trade deadline was terrible?
2015. That's when they made the World Series.
Yeah, and then they went on that tear.
No, but even then, 2007, the Mets were 10 games up, 8 games up, whatever, with a month left in the season.
No, I was thinking the opposite way around when they made that.
You're being nice to the Mets. I was being mean. But anyway, Paul, we got one more thing, unfortunately, to talk about before we end.
Okay, yeah. So I thought it'd be nice to talk. Not nice, but Jim Fassel passed away this morning or yesterday at the age of 71 due to a heart attack. I just mentioned it because, I think as Giants fans, will always remember his famous speech or press conference when he said, "I'm raising the stakes and we're all in," and he guaranteed the playoffs, and Giants went to the Super Bowl. So I just thought it'd be nice to mention that because I will always. It kind of brought back some feelings for me because I was when the Giants made the Super Bowl that year. What was that 2001? 2001. I was in fifth grade.
2001.
I was in fifth grade, so I was 10 or 11, and I think that was my first I think 10 or 11 is when you start to actually understand football. You're into it when you're 7 or 8 years old, but you start really getting into it. And so I always remember Jim Fassel the first Giants coach. I don't know the Bill Parcells years, so for me it was Jim Fassel. So when I saw that this morning, I was a little sad by that. I mean, especially because he was only 71, which I don't think that
It's not old this day and age.
Not old. So it's kind of sad. Marcus, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so Jim Fassel was a solid coach. He took them to the playoffs 3 or 4 times, and I might be off, might be 3. See 3 or 4 times in that time. He was the coach from '97 to 2003. That 2000 season was great. They went 12-4. They were 7-4, and then he made the famous speech. There was a team that
they lost, right? Didn't they lose?
They lost a couple games, and then they went on a roll.
Yes.
But the thing is, that team underachieved and then overachieved. It's one of the weirdest things ever. They were underachieving, and then they overachieved by making the Super Bowl, and then they lost to a very difficult Ravens team. But they went 7-4. They won 5 in a row to close out the regular season. Then they beat Philly. That was the Jason Sehorn game when he made that tip interception.
Yes.
And they absolutely annihilated the powerhouse Vikings.
Yep, I remember that.
Pepper, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Robert Smith, Vikings. And then they got, steamrolled in the Super Bowl, but anybody would have been by that. I mean, the Ravens destroyed everybody that year with that, convict Ray Lewis. But anyway, Jim Fassel, then in 2002, unfortunately, they were on a roll at the end of the season again, and they had that collapse against the 49ers. That was Horrendous.
No, I remember that.
And a lot of people said if the Giants won that game, they might have gone to the Super Bowl again and might have won. So
That was the missed field goal, wasn't it?
yeah, everything went wrong in that game. I can think about it now because the Giants won 2 Super Bowls after that, but that was tough.
I think Mark
Then
after that game.
And then, the next year the Giants had a ton of injuries, and Kerry Collins got hurt. And they just bottomed out, and then they hired Coughlin, and the rest is history after that. But
it was said that Fassel never got
got a head coaching job again.
He went to the Rams. He was a coordinator at the Rams.
That's what I saw on some LA Locomotives team or something like that.
It's sad because I feel like there's just so many. There are some shit NFL coaches, and this guy couldn't get a job again.
Yeah, it's weird. What do you think about that, Steve? Him never getting
blacklisted.
What?
What do you think about Jim Fassel never getting a job again?
I don't really give a shit. I hate everyone involved with the Giants. I mean, they can all care. Giants are my least favorite sports team of all time.
And wait, you really hate the Giants more than the Yankees? I still can't believe that.
Big time, yeah. Giants, they could all die on a plane crash in the first preseason game. I don't really care. I hate them all.
Well,
sorry. Fuck them. Fuck Eli.
You don't care about Jim Fassel?
Fuck Jim Fassel. I don't care about anyone on the Giants. They're all done to me. I hate them all.
I think this might be our last episode, folks. It was nice knowing you all. We'll see you next year, if ever. Or might have a blank screen next episode with a new guest. I mean, new host.
I'm crying.
I mean, the man did just die 24 hours ago. Can we show some respect?
I mean that's sad. That's sad. He's a young guy. I feel bad. But as far as the Giants, I don't really care. I want them to lose back in the 90s. I want them to lose, when he's on the whatever team, the Las Vegas Argonauts, whatever team he's freaking on. I don't even care.
The sad thing the Ravens that year is beating the Giants is that fucking quarterback was Trent Dilfer.
For one of the worst quarterbacks of all time to win a Super Bowl.
And now I got to see that asshole on ESPN all the time. Whatever show he's on, pregame show, I'm like, I fuck this guy. That's all I think.
He's a bad analyst too.
Kerry Collins, right? Kerry Collins played for Fassel.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Fassel never had the first few years. He had some crummy quarterbacks, Dave Brown, Kent Graham, and then he got Kerry. And he actually resurrected Kerry Collins' career. He helped him fix his hitch.
He was solid, Kerry Collins.
Kerry Collins was a good, solid QB. Yeah, good. And then that led to who coming in, and then let's not get into that. But anyway. All right, Paul, let's go to the nostalgia. Let's get to something fun after that miserable end to the update by Steve there.
I was laughing.
I was laughing too.
I forget how much he hates the Giants. So.
Yeah, I mean, but I thought if someone died, I thought I'd at least show respect. But oh my God, I feel horrible right now. All right, Paul, nostalgia. We talked about, folks, what we're going to do this episode. Paul's never going to be able to continue. He's in a laughing fit.
Oh, I'm good. All right, so for our debate today, Steve and Mark are not a debate. Just give us they're gonna give us their top 5 sports video games. Top 5 sports video games. I think they're mostly going with older stuff because they're both old fucks. Plus those old sports games I think really did change the game. That's kind of all the new ones are kind of the same now. So how do you want to do this? Do you each want to give your 5th and then each give
like we did with the movies and stuff?
So okay, so then Mark, do you want to take it from there, or do you want me to keep it going? Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm going to start off with a baseball game, Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest for Nintendo 64.
Classic.
Came out 98, 99, around that time period. Well, first of all, Ken Griffey Jr., iconic of the era. He had the original game was Winning Run. I didn't have that game. I had Slugfest for Sega for Nintendo 64. Just a fun game. They had the World Series mode. They had season mode. Pretty good graphics for the time. Announcer in it. You had Dave Niehaus, the famous Mariners announcer. God rest his soul. That's how you show respect to the dead. Dave Niehaus with his announcing grand salami time. Ken Griffey Jr. of course was the best player in the game, but it was fun. I remember doing the World Series mode. I would play Paul in the World Series and sweep him every time. He was 9. He really didn't know how to play baseball or sports. No, we played a World Series, and I would sweep you every time. Sorry. There was the famous Jorge Posada in that game, Paul. The Yankees were coming off the 98 season, so they were awesome. I mean, it was just a great game. I have not much to say about it. It was just a great, solid ball game. Fun to play, good pace. I liked it. I'm not a video game nerd, so I can't analyze the ins and outs of it. But for a sports fan, it was fun. They did the national anthem in the beginning. I loved it. So what was your number 5, Steve?
Number 5 was Bases Loaded.
Oh, baseball too.
Yeah.
Which one? 1, 2, or 3?
I like Bases. I'm gonna go Bases Loaded 1.
Okay.
because they had the funny umps. Do you guys remember the umps names in Bases Loaded 1?
I don't remember this game, Steve, so teach us.
Yeah,
I know Bases Loaded 2.
the names of the umps in Bases Loaded 1 were Yuck, Dumb, Boo, and Bum.
Sounds like us.
Yeah, and then they would introduce the umps before the game, and you could see them like their names were on the screen, and the graphics were horrible, but it was the first real baseball game on a screen that I ever played, and it was exciting seeing the names of the baseball players of the time.
What system was that?
It was Nintendo.
Yeah, because Bases Loaded 2 is Nintendo also, right, Mark?
Yeah. Regular Nintendo. And it was just fun. They had a home run derby, and you could play like a season.
Oh yeah, Slugfest had home run derby too. Yeah,
home run derby 2 is a great game.
No, Slugfest had home run derby also. I mean,
no, but wasn't there a game called Home Run Derby?
That I don't remember.
Pretty sure there was for Super Nintendo.
Oh,
yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I just like Bases Loaded 1 because it was the first baseball game that I played for a system, and it really just. It was always my go-to, I played RBI baseball for a little bit. I played backyard baseball for a little bit. Ken Griffey baseball for a minute, but I always went back to Bases Loaded 1.
All right, interesting. All right, so number 4, I'll go with my number 4, which is NBA Live '96.
Okay.
All right, I like that game. Gameplay was more advanced at the time. Remember, 1996 is 20. I can't even figure out how many years ago it was right now. 25 years ago. It had I don't know if it was the first game to have it, but it had create a player mode. You can create yourself. You can make yourself the center, the point guard, whatever you wanted. It's special in my family because we had a whole team of our family members as the expansion Toronto Raptors, and Isaiah Thomas was our coach. So, and we had Damon Stoudemire as our point guard.
What year was this game, NBA Live?
NBA Live '96. Was that the first NBA Live game? I don't think so.
No, that'd be one before that.
Well, it was, like I said, I just liked it had season mode, first one of those games, first time I remember seeing that. It was the second installment. So NBA Live was number 1. NBA Live, yeah, and had Shaq on the cover with good old on his Magic uniform. That's pretty cool to look back at. Yeah, just like I said, a good solid game, fun, played it a lot. It's one of the only basketball games I remember. I had it for Sega. I didn't have NBA Jam for some reason. That might have been one of the first games I had. I remember liking it better than NBA Jam because it was more real, like 5-on-5. Not, I think we're going to hear about NBA Jam soon, so I don't want to spoil it. But I liked NBA Live. It was good. I used to be the Knicks in that game. The Bulls obviously were awesome. I feel like Jordan wasn't in it, though. Not because of retirement. I feel like he wasn't in it. He was like number 23, not Jordan. I don't know why. I have some weird thought about that. So, yeah, that's my number 4. So we've gone baseball and basketball so far. What are you going with number 4, Steve?
So my next one is NBA Jam.
We're going in the same order here.
Yeah. I remember vividly, like it was yesterday, going to Blockbuster to rent this game and being like so freaking excited to get this game, just like psyched. And it was
time out real quick. For your kids out there, Blockbuster is a store where we used to go and rent video games. It's for Netflix and Amazon Prime and every other streaming service. Sorry, Steve.
It was just the hottest game ever. I remember that I was only allowed to rent it for like 2 or 3 days and then I had to return it because it was such a hot game. So much fun though, like you remember like so many taglines, like he's on fire.
Yeah.
Just like crazy dunks, like death-defying dunks and doing stuff that you couldn't do on a normal basketball court. I remember putting cheat codes in to like have like dinosaurs playing against you and using.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah. Oh my God. There was so many cheat codes and you could have like people, you could like be on fire for the whole entire time and you could.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm definitely dating myself, but maybe you guys remember this. I used to use NBA Jam in coordination with Game Genie. Do you guys remember Game Genie?
I remember Game Genie. I remember hearing about it. Yeah.
And you would plug it into the cartridge for Super Nintendo, and you would put codes in, and you could just do so many crazy things with NBA Jam. Like that was the first game where I started using like cheat codes and like experimenting with like the different things that you could do in a game. So much fun though.
Remember NBA Jam TE Tournament Edition, that other one that came out?
Yeah.
Second
one. It was the same
my
shit.
cousins had that game. They're about your age, so I remember playing it too. I remember Horace Grant had his goggles. I used to like that for some reason. I like that little detail. I'm a details guy with video games, sports games.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3. I think Steve's gonna have this one too. So we'll have something similar. We actually been similar with sports. It's not the exact games, but my number 3 is Tecmo Super Bowl.
Okay.
This is one of the first games I remember playing it a little bit when I was very little, watching my dad play it. Remember, he'd always beat the Giants and try to win the Super Bowl in the season. Then when I got old, I mean, it stood the test of time, that game. Like, it's still popular today. People still talk about it today. I love the fact that you go back and you could be Bo Jackson. Like, how cool is that? You can go back and you could be the great LT as a linebacker. Steve, correct me. Is that one of the first games that have names in it?
Yeah.
That's
Maybe the first game to have names in it.
With agreement with the Players Association and stuff, and they had to pay the guys, obviously. You had Marcus Allen. You had Joe Montana, Waterboy. You had, who else? Well, the Giants, I said, were good. You had Boomer and the Bengals in that game, I believe. You had,
Right.
the great Bills teams. But I don't think
Bills,
Jim Kelly wasn't in it, though, because Jim Kelly was – I forget why, because he played with the USFL. I don't know. You couldn't be Jim Kelly.
He was just that quarterback, Bills quarterback.
Remember that? Bills scored. But the halftime show was always good, too. Paul, what did I like about the halftime show?
The girl winking at you.
Yeah, I was 5 or 6.
Cheerleader would jump and wink, and Mark always thought she was winking at him specifically. just him.
Do you remember if you played a season and let's say you had the Giants and Phil Simms got hurt when he left the injury, they'd show him running out of the hospital. Do you remember that, Steve?
I do remember that. Yeah,
it was so cheesy, but it's so cool. Like he'd be like running the doctors saying bye. Like, it was so weird, but so cool.
So, Mark, just to your point about tech, I fact checked us. Live fact checked.
Well,
Jay and Larry Bird go 1-on-1 from 1983. Was the first licensed sports game based on the names and likeness of famous athletes.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So what was the first game? What was the name of it, though?
Jay and Larry Bird go 1-on-1. It's for Nintendo.
Oh, wow. So that was the first game to have names.
No, it couldn't have been Nintendo. 1983. Nintendo wasn't Nintendo out in 83?
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, either way, that's what I just came upon.
All right, Steve, what's your number 3? Please tell me not to Tecmo Super Bowl.
I mean, Tecmo Super Bowl was almost my number 1, but I'm making it my number 3.
Oh, wow.
Just because you inspired me to want to talk about it, because I love that game so much. Such a great game. I mean, by far. I mean, it could be my number 1. It really could be my number 1.
What's your number 1 then?
No, because I have another one that's my number 1. I have another one. But speaking of Game Genie really quick, I used to use Game Genie for that also. And I used to put in where I could have like hour-long quarters. I used to have scores like 200 to something. Like it was so much fun. I don't know if you remember this, but you can make for the Super Bowl, you can make an all-star team, and you could have a team that had like Jim Kelly as quarterback and Bo Jackson as running back and Jerry Rice as receiver, and you can have them all on one team with like a super team. But you guys are gonna make fun of me, but my team to play with when I would play against someone like my dad or someone else, I would pick the Giants because LT was Paul.
I said they were unstoppable in that game.
It wasn't that the Giants were so good; it was that LT was absolutely unstoppable, and Ingram was really good as a receiver as well. Mark Ingram, right? Mark Ingram, is that his name, right?
And Stephen Baker, touchdown maker.
I was just saying, who was my favorite when we played? Remember older X plays because Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker.
Yeah,
we had epic games with our cousins. Like in this decade, we played that. Like we're not talking 30 years ago. We're talking like the last 10, 15 years we played that.
Yeah,
game.
I still have it. Like it's 5 feet away from me. Talking ball. I still have it. It's right next to me.
When I come visit you, Steve, we're gonna play it. All right, please.
Yeah. But just a great game. Like I had some good battles with my dad with that game. Sometimes I would play the computer, and I was just so that was one. You know what? One thing I wanna say bad about Tecmo Bowl is that it was really easy to beat the computer. It was like a non-competitive game. Like I would beat the computer sometimes like 85-0. Like I would just like be toying with it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, like
it's just
We have some stories on the side we could talk. I'm glad you played video games with your dad because we did too. It's baseball, football, whatever the games were. We have some good stories. We'll talk about that on the side though. All right, my number 2. I'm going with football again. I'm going with Madden 01. Nostalgia game for me. First of all, history-wise, video game. It was the first game to feature just a player, and that was Eddie George. And what happened with him that season? He got hurt.
Well,
Like a lot of guys.
Madden
cover. Now, I read something interesting. There was players on another cover in '95. I forget who, Reggie Brooks or something. I don't remember who they were, but it was with Madden. This was the first guy to be on it by himself. So I like that game. They had franchise mode. The graphics were really solid for the time. They were a big jump from Madden 99 or 2000. Since the NFL had instituted the challenge, they actually had replay review challenges in that game, which is cool. I love the franchise mode, and they had draft, and you would draft guys. Obviously, you couldn't draft real college players, but like they'd have like S. Savad as your wide receiver and P. Marino as your running back. You know, they'd be like names of random people. My story with that game is it was midterm week, 9th grade, and I came home every day and just played like a whole season with the Chargers. And I had this random guy as my QB, like a draft pick. I traded Ryan Leaf. Yeah, we mentioned him before. And I got this guy like K. Mare, his name was, or something. And I rebuilt the Chargers, 8-8. My name was the Coach Marino, because you could put your name in and everything. And they fired me. So I just never went back. I should have. That still hurts me to this day. That's why I was asking if you still have 64 laying around in that game. I want to get it and play it and get some vengeance. But Madden 01 was a really solid game. And like I said, I like the features of it. They had the creative player mode, the training camp mode, I believe. So it was pretty cool. I like Madden 01. What's your number 2, Steve?
My number 2 is well, let me tell you the characters and or the players in this game, and you tell me if you guys can name it. All right.
I think I know.
What is that?
I think I know right away, but start saying it.
Yeah. We have Glass Joe. We have Von Kaiser. We have Honda.
We know.
Flamenco.
Mike Tyson's
Great Tiger. Bald Bull. Piston Honda again. Soda Popinski. Super Macho Man. Mike Tyson.
Well, that's Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
I'll never forget my friend. I don't even talk to this kid anymore. But he borrowed my Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and he never gave it back to me.
That's why you don't talk to him.
Gave me some like bullshit one in return, like to trade, and it's like never gave me back my Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was such a fun game. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was like a certain thing you had to do for each character in order to kill them. You had to like time like this guy, like what's his name, King Hippo.
Yeah.
Every time he did this and stopped, punch him. Then you come at you and you go then rest and you punch him. So there was like a method to beat every character, and if you have magazines and like read about Mike Tyson's Punch Out to like see what the skills were, because that's what I did. Like I would have like a
Nintendo magazine, right?
Yeah, like Nintendo Weekly. It would come to my house and I would look up like these
Nintendo Power.
Yeah, exactly. There was no internet to look up and everything.
So I had never that. I mean, I remember all the NES games. I played a lot of them when I was younger. You know, I mean, we were a little. System had been out a while, but I never really remembered Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And I guess 2 years ago, I got the little mini NES that they sold, you know, for like $80 with downloadable games and stuff. And I was playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and I remembered it, but I never played it really. I remember games like Paperboy and stuff like that. And man, it's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, old video games, and I play video games. Like you can ask Mark. Like I actually still play a lot of video games. You know, I have all the current systems. I still have the old systems. I have the N64 still. I have a PS2, and man, those games are hard. And Mike Tyson's Punch Out, you're right. And you can't save. So you're just like, you know, you got to get as far as you possibly can, and that's it.
Yeah, there was no going back to like the 4th round.
It was all about timing too. That's what was so hard about it. You had to mash the buttons right at the right time, like when they would swing, and then you'd get them with the uppercut or whatever.
Yeah,
Last Joe was easy to beat.
Yeah, great.
And there's another game too, Steve. Like when he would was it Little Mike or Mac, and he'd go running with the guy, and the guy. I love it. I mean, it's like I didn't put it on my list because I didn't play it enough. Like I played it later on. I didn't put that one. I still feel like I haven't played that game enough in my life, but I definitely know all about it. But for me, and actually playing it, I more watched my dad play it and my cousins play it. But Yeah, I didn't put that one, but I went. My number one is actually. I think you might agree with this one, Steve. Maybe you didn't pick
Number
it.
2, you mean? Oh, no, number one.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're both
My number one is NHL '94. It was the first game I got for my Sega Genesis. First hockey game I really played, and I learned about hockey from it. And how fitting, NHL '94 was the year the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. Stood the test of time. I had that game right, like Steve said. I have Tech Motion Pro. I have NHL '94 right up there in the family room. I haven't played it in a while, but when I played it last, I won my 25th career Stanley Cup. Forget with who. But it had new features too. It had players' names, I believe. Once again, you might have to fact check me, Paul. It might have been the first hockey game with players' names. I don't know. It had the fans in the stand. You actually could see their faces and their expressions. That was new. The little kid would come down and hit on the ice. You could break the glass behind you. The checks into the boards. What?
On that one?
Zambonis would come out after the period. Not you'd see them when you were in intermission with the scoreboard up. And it's not like ice hockey. The music in the stadium was real. They had like the Let's Go Rangers and the Hartford Whalers back then. They're the Carolina Hurricanes now. They had I can't think of the song, but they always played certain songs. Just a really good, solid game. NHL '94 was. You could do manual auto change or auto line changes. Change your goalie when you wanted. You had you didn't have season yet, but you had postseason only. You could have regular you couldn't have a season for some reason, just the playoffs. Other things had the slap shot feature. I believe that was new. The one-timer feature, I believe that was new too. Iconic players. And did you know Jaromir Jagr in that game was still playing in the NHL only a couple years ago? He was the last remaining guy. Highest rated player in that game, I believe, was either Mario Lemieux or Jeremy Roenick.
Stud, Jagr. Stud.
Yeah, he is. Jagr's still studying, probably in the Czech playing somewhere right now. But
that game is it's still referenced today a lot.
What? Yeah, and it's 94 is a popular game. It's stood the test of time, definitely, just like Tecmo Super Bowl. Really good, solid game. I learned about Ray Bourque from that game. Paul knows that reference, what that means. So, and you have the '94 Rangers who won the cup. So, really cool game. All right, Steve, let's finish up with your number one.
All right, so I mean, this is kind of a controversial pick, but I'm gonna pick. Well, first, let me preface my response. I want to give a shout out to to Madden football. Okay. But, because it was truly groundbreaking. I think in terms of sports games. You know what I mean? But I mean, do you guys agree with me or no? Oh, you look like you're doubting me.
No, I agree.
Like Madden was groundbreaking?
Yeah, Madden was absolutely groundbreaking. But to me, that started my trend on these sports games are it's too difficult. I'm not into it. I'm not into all these hot routes and people it was just too much. It started becoming too much like fantasy football for me to enjoy. I like the simplicity. You know what I'm saying?
A video game.
Yeah. Anyway. So right around when Madden came out, that's when I really just started not playing video games anymore. You know what I mean? I played Grand Theft Auto when it came out, just shits and giggles, and my friends would have it. I would play random games, but the game that got me back into playing not that I played video games a lot, but the game that got me back into kind of playing video games a little bit was Wii Sports. Uh-huh. I got it for Christmas. My wife got it for me for when we were dating still. She got me the Wii, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "A video game," and it came in Wii Sports, and I put it in, and I started playing the golf with the controller. I was like, "This is freaking awesome!" I was like, and I enjoyed it. And I played the Wii Golf, and I played the Wii Tennis, and I played the Wii Bowling, and I was like, I was super into it, and that kind of got me back into the video game world again. I was like, oh, let me see what's out there. Let me see what kind of video games are out there. Maybe I'll get a system. Maybe I'll get PS 4 or whatever. And so that kind of got me back into video game world, Wii Sports. So I really got to give it credit because I had not played video games from then, since the late 90s. The last system that I had bought was Super Nintendo and Sega. I never bought a PlayStation. I never bought PlayStation. I never bought Xbox. Never bought any of those games. So
Wii Sports, I can't really.
So we had it. Well, I had the Wii in high school. So I guess you were in college, Mark. So you probably know what was going on at home. But yeah, Wii Sports was a lot of fun. I mean, it changed video games too, like the whole motion thing. But yeah, it had tennis, it had golf, it had bowling.
Yeah, just the golf alone is fun. Like it's
It
fun.
had boxing.
Yeah, super cool. You know what I mean?
It had baseball.
Yeah, baseball too. I forgot about that.
Me and John used to play it a lot.
I don't remember you ever having a Wii.
Yeah, and the baseball was so much fun. And the Wii Sports was funny because people would use the controller and not put the strap around their arms, and that was when the controllers were flying out of people's hands and breaking their TVs.
Yeah,
I remember that story. Yeah,
that was the Wii. Wii Sports. That's good. I like that pick, Steve.
All right, well,
I don't know if I'd make it number one.
Here we go. So, Steve, you never fail to disappoint me with your number ones. All these great games in video game history, and you go Wii Sports.
I thought when he started talking about Madden, I said, "Is he going to say what's it called, NFL Blitz or whatever it was called?"
Yeah, something like that.
That's what he was like the simplicity, because that game was like NHL Hits, another one that was just like not the real sport.
It was like a bloodbath.
Am I dumb, or was like Madden is like overly complicated to me? It's just like too much.
Maybe now, not the early ones on Sega and stuff. I'm surprised you didn't play those ones.
No, I mean,
this guy's teaching children.
I mean, to be honest with you, like I was never super into sports games for all the game systems. I liked my sports games, you know what I'm saying? And like I liked those. I was never into like every single one. I like my Super Mario and I like my Zelda, but like I like my Tecmo Bowl too, and I like my RBI baseball and I like all that shit too. But I never got super into, because like to me, like a lot of the sports games like just sucked. Like they were not realistic enough for me. It was just like graphics. And by the time like PS1 came out, I was over it. I was over the whole shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you were older. You know that. We were just growing up. You were already 35 years old. But anyway, one thing I thought about throwing in, and Steve would have ripped me for this one. I thought about throwing in Royal Rumble. It's a wrestling game.
I was just going to ask you that.
Okay.
Royal Rumble was really good. Paul used to be scared of Papa Shango's character.
And another one for N64, WCW versus NWO.
I thought of that too. It's on my list of potentials, but it didn't make the list.
Ice hockey.
No,
I would do ice hockey. That would be on mine.
Ice hockey. Blades of Steel, too cheesy.
Oh God.
I
RBI baseball.
was on a racing game, but I couldn't find one that
Excite Bike didn't excite you, Steve?
I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. You know what I'm saying? It was fun, but I wasn't in love with it.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, that was cool. That was nostalgic. You agree, Steve?
Yeah, totally.
Good nostalgia there. We hope the audience enjoys that nostalgia trip. Paul, let's do a 2-minute drill, and then we're done for our 9th episode.
Okay, 2-minute drill. And we're making an actual 2-minute drill. But it's a big question. But I think you both have an idea in your head. I think you'll have an answer. So who went last time first?
It doesn't matter. Just let Steve go.
Okay, we'll go with Steve.
Steve,
for the 2-minute drill, what do you think is the most unbreakable record in sports?
Most unbreakable record in sports.
Like, which record do you think will just never be?
Any sport, right, Paul?
Any sport. Yeah.
I'll have to say, I'll say Cal Ripken's record.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Because athletes are soft these days. Like they don't care. Like they'll take like a mental break just to take it. Like they don't, like having like a streak like that means absolutely nothing to them. They don't give a shit. They're like, yo, fuck you, pay me. You know what I mean?
I don't think a team would let a player.
I don't think it'd be allowed to.
Players, I think the players considered commodity now.
That too. Yeah. I really want to say that like I don't know. I keep on saying that DiMaggio's record is going to get broken, but it just hasn't got broken yet. Like I feel like that's a very breakable record, and it just hasn't been broken.
Streak, yeah.
So
but the way the players hit today, they don't put the ball in play as much, so it's tougher.
Yeah, but I mean that's like one of those like hollowed records that I feel is like one of those like easily breakable ones. You know, like there's some of them that are fucking impossible. You know,
like you think with Ripken's,
it's impossible Ripken now.
Yeah, I think so.
So Mark, are you going to go with the same one or say something different?
I would go with either of those two that he just mentioned. Yeah. I don't see that. Or Cy Young's total wins. That's not happening. No one's breaking that. It's a baseball, because the football records, like how many times has the touchdown passes in the season gotten broken? Like I feel like.
Well, and that's a good point, because now with football, they keep expanding the season to more and more games. Isn't that just going to make these records more breakable?
Yeah, but then you know that's asterisk. That's asterisk.
I'm not gonna put an asterisk though, right? I mean, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know.
And the
But
baseball season's gotten longer too. But
not. Yeah.
but right, those records can't be broken still, even with that.
Yeah, and honestly, I think
I don't think DiMaggio's record will ever be broken.
Yeah, but here on the Cal Ripken one, I'm going to say something. I think it's overrated.
Yeah, you said, yeah, right.
I think Cal Ripken's a good ball player. Don't get me wrong. I like.
He's overrated, or the record's overrated.
He's a bit overrated, and the record's a bit overrated because there was years, and I can't. It's 2-minute drills. So I'm not going to go into it. I got to look at the research. I can do this one time for you, but yeah, Cal Ripken's record is overrated because there was years where he like slacked towards the last parts of the season. He needed a day off. It was probably smart for him to take a day off, but he didn't. And Cal Ripken was selfish. He's had a bit of a selfish side to him, Cal Ripken. But listen, great guy though. He would stay out there and autograph for kids all night after games. He was an icon, like in that sense. So I mean, I hate to hate on the guy, but him and his brother annoy me sometimes.
Can I ask you a question? Because I don't remember the Cal Ripken days as much. So was it one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, he's gonna probably break this record, and so he just kept playing and playing? Like, was there a point where everyone's like, he has to keep playing?
See, I don't remember that either. Steve probably remember that better than me. I was younger I remember when he broke the record. He had to.
I mean, like everyone just called him the Iron Man. Like I don't remember him ever going out there and being like a negative to his team. Like maybe he had a bad game, you know, maybe like over 4 for a game, but he never like limped out there and hurt his team, to my knowledge.
Okay.
Now I'm thinking that I was too young. Maybe like in 95 he broke the record. I'm thinking when he hit 1990, the year 1990. I mean, they must have saw how close he was to Rip Garrick and said, "All right, let's go for it." You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I'm asking. Okay.
I don't know. We have to look back at that, to be honest.
Yeah. I never watched a game with him and being like, "Yo, this guy like should not be out here right now." He's like being held up by like matchsticks. You know what I mean? Like I never felt.
No, it might not be he was injured, but maybe he just wasn't. The energy might have been down because he played so much. I don't know. I want to go back and look at that. That'll be for another.
Yeah, I'm gonna YouTube some Cal Ripken Jr. After this episode.
I want to look at Baseball Reference too.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. Awesome job. Awesome episode. We are done with 9 episodes.
Almost double digits.
If you are one of our listeners, pass us along. Tell people who you are. Tell your friends. Tell your family.
Tell your friends.
And tell them that you could find 2 Dudes, 2 Drinks on Buzzsprout, Spotify, what am I missing? Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube. Email us, 2dudes2drinks@gmail.com, Instagram at us. Give us feedback on this episode. What are your video? I think people are gonna talk about their video games. So give us your nostalgic or maybe recent video games that you love and do you agree or disagree with our list? But anyway, on that note, I'm Reno. That's Steve. Thank you, Update Guy Paul. See you all next time.
Peace.